All right. Welcome, Kumita Explorers. This is our eighth episode na ata. So we want to thank you for sharing and liking our content. We've reached 10,000 just recently. We were like 9,000 for a month, and now we're at 10,000. Purely organic. We're not advertising. No, so this is just pure organic. People are sharing and sharing, and now we have 1,000 additional followers, and we've achieved that without you know not doing this full time. No, we're just doing this on our free time. I'm just by myself right now, but my partner Nell will be with me on my next episode tomorrow. Okay, so before we start, let me give you a background of our show today. Our show today is about something important that all of us business people and professionals experience, and it's stress. Okay? Kung hindi kayo nasa-stress, either sobrang swerte nyo dahil nakahanap kayo ng job na walang stress or hindi kayo nagtatrabaho, which I doubt. Okay? I think everyone has experienced stress at one point or another. Pero I'm sure you're experiencing it every day. Ako, I'm stressed because sobrang daming trabaho, no? It doesn't stop, no? And I'm sure you can relate to me. You're multitasking. Meron kayong job, may trabaho kayo, tapos you're also managing your household. So how do you manage that? No, sometimes it's stressful. So we're gonna talk about that, and we actually have a special guest today, and she's also a good friend of mine. I'll introduce her now. I'll add her to this view here. Hi, Norvie.
Hi, Chris! Let me just wear my eyeglasses. Ganyan yata
Alright.
talaga pag tumatanda na tayo.
Parang hindi halata.
Diba? Thank you.
Hindi
How are
halata.
you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Despite your busy schedule, you joined us today. Before we start, introduce muna kita sa mga audience
Sige lang.
natin, no? So again, Norvie is a good friend of mine, and she's a practicing clinical psychologist and psychotherapist. Okay, she works with DOH, Las Piñas Drug Abuse Treatment and Rehab Center.
Yes.
I can't imagine how tough that job is. And she also works with empath.ph to contribute in addressing mental health challenges of Filipinos. So she has private practice, and she has plenty of customers on a month, I think around 50, 60. And she has worked with different types of people throughout her life, people having difficulties associated with stress. And sana mabigyan niya ako ng advice later. No? So please
Libreng
welcome Norvie Cho.
libre. Thank you, Chris. Libreng libre para sa'yo. Okay. So, ano ba? Good morning, good afternoon, good
Good evening.
evening. Okay. So, how do you address your,
Kumita
Kumita
Explorer.
Explorers? By the
Yes.
way, congratulations. Grabe, 10,000 followers. So
Mm-mm.
impressed. Ang galing, ang
Yes.
galing. So,
Thank you.
congratulations
Mm-mm.
to you. Back then, talagang nandun na yung the desire siguro to really help people. I've seen that when we were young. So I'm really happy
Talaga.
that, yes, that finally you're, not finally, but somehow you have this platform. I think this is a
Yes.
very important platform talaga nowadays. So,
Mm-mm.
congratulations to you. And
Thank you.
magandang araw po sa lahat po ng mga nanonood sa atin.
Sige.
Disclaimer lang, Chris, because normally when I do a talk like this, okay, I am a clinical psychologist, not a psychiatrist. Kasi
Mhm.
people often use the terms psychiatrist
Interchangeably.
and psychologist interchangeably, tama ka. An easy mistake to make if you're not familiar with the field. Okay, so let me just be clear. Maganda to, kaalaman sa ating mga manonood right now. Both psychologists po and psychiatrists can provide mental health services. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but psychologists like me, Chris, dive deep into the external causes of mental disorders and
Mm-hmm.
the therapeutic approaches to treating them, okay? But on the other hand naman, psychiatrists spend a significant amount of time exploring the
Mm-hmm.
biological and
Mm-hmm.
neurological elements of mental health. So, as a general rule, okay, clinical psychologist like me is a good place to start. Kasi
Uh,
therapy can help you process trauma and give you tools somehow to deal with, some mental struggles that you have without medications. So,
all right.
hopefully, I was able to somehow differentiate the two. Ikaw ba nalilito ka rin minsan?
Actually, first time ko lang.
Talaga.
Akala ko they're like the same.
They're not
So
the same.
they're not the
Okay.
same.
Oo,
So that's a
hindi pala
good
talaga.
insight for everyone, including me. So when you said psychologist is external, and so it means kaya pala when I watch these TV shows,
Hmm.
yung psychiatrist parang it's more on internal,
Medicine, oo.
more
Brain
internal.
chemistry, yes.
Ah.
So,
So
ano man,
something defective sa
yes,
biological process niya.
inside, okay,
Ah,
internally. So when
I see.
externally naman, we talk about, the environment that really somehow affect our psychological well-being, life experiences, trauma. So medyo magkaiba siya ng direction. That's why psychological process and psychiatric process, di ba, medyo magkaiba. So when we
I
talk
see.
about the psychiatrists, so they tend to really delve in that psychiatric aspect of a person. So yun nga, kagaya ng sabi
Mhm.
mo kanina, Chris, the internal aspect, the brain chemistry, what else naman, psychologist naman, more on the external. Ano kaya yung hugot? What are the
Okay.
root causes of, we're experiencing right now? So more on the psychological siya. Hindi siya more
Okay.
on the brain chemicals.
Okay. Sige, sige. So, all right. That's very clear here. So, I'm curious now about your work right now. No,
Mm.
you're currently the section head of the psychological services here in DOH Las Piñas Drug Abuse Treatment. Can you tell me more about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Normally kasi, I'm currently affiliated with Department of Health, Las
Mm,
Piñas, wherein we cater to people na nagpapagaling pagdating sa substance abuse. Okay.
mm,
So, it's a facility located in Las Piñas po, wherein we handle cases of people who has having a hard time or difficulty in terms of managing their addiction. So
mhm.
right now, currently, nandun ako every day, really doing my best to help them in any way I can in terms of their psychological aspect.
Mhm. Okay. And then is there like since we were talking about psychological and is there a psychiatric service then
Right
on
now,
that?
because start pa lang kasi yung facility namin eh. It's one of the newest addition to the DOH family.
Mm,
So, more on psychological lang muna kami. Wala pa kaming psychiatric. Kasi pag psychiatric na yung pinag-usapan natin, impairment na talaga and cognition
uh,
yan. So, those
all right.
people, yung meron na sila mga hallucination, delusion, and typically, you need a certain facility to somehow
Uh,
take care of them. So,
mm,
more on psychological aspect lang muna yung mga
oh,
dinideal
all right.
namin doon.
So
So,
okay,
hopefully, in the
that makes sense.
future, meron kami.
All right. So is this something new for DOH to invest in at least in the Las Piñas area, or they've done something
And the
similar
Las
before?
Piñas area, I think we're the only one right now.
Ah,
So, and it's a
interesting.
government facility, so mas mura po siya
Oh,
compared sa mga
that's
private
good.
rehabilitation center natin.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Um.
Chris, the good thing about my work though, I'm a psychologist. So during weekdays, I'm a government psychologist. So I work at DOH. And then I have the privilege naman to do private practice during
Mhm,
weekdays. So iba
mhm.
rin yung mga cases na i-encounter ko sa online clinic that I'm also affiliated with.
Uh, yeah, you mentioned in your private practice you're like may 40 to 50 cases a month. Are these
Yes.
individuals?
Yes,
All
definitely.
right.
So these are Filipinos typically, sometimes nga abroad pa nga, who will book on our platform to somehow ask for seek professional help in
Mm,
terms of their mental health. Because
mm,
unfortunately, Chris, we all know after the pandemic, um, talagang nabago yung world natin eh.
mm.
And mental health also, the need of it really rises talaga during and after the pandemic. Would you agree?
Oo. But narinig ko eh. I mean, madami talagang na-stress. And I have some studies later to show.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I'd like to get your reaction on that na talagang madaming affected eh. And I want to understand why kasi I not sure ano yung reason behind it. I have no
mm-hmm.
clue kasi I'm a pretty positive person. Parang di ko,
Kahit
pag
naman, no, bata pa
reaction
tayo eh.
so hindi
Di
ko
ba?
alam eh. Bakit kaya sila
Mm-hmm,
naapektuhan? So for me, it's still a mystery. Pero I have some friends and also yung mga nasa team ko who experienced it eh. So parang sabi ko during the baka totoo talaga to, no? Kasi sa akin,
mm-hmm,
I haven't really encountered someone who experienced it until during the pandemic.
mm-hmm. But
Close relatives and
during
friends.
the pandemic, how are you? Wala bang struggles, because that was really a
Uh,
very interesting time for all of us.
may struggle financially.
Okay.
It's more
I think all
stress
of us. Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, eto since we're talking about that, no. So
Mm.
talking about, pandemic. We'll touch that later. We'll
Sige.
definitely touch that later. And I have two questions here, no.
Mhm.
Number one, recently there's this South Korean celebrity that took her life, I think last
Mhm.
week. But it wasn't said na nag-suicide, pero everybody's saying that. It's like every month meron celebrity that died
Mhm.
eh. And they're very young. And I'm curious, what would be the cause? They're a rich country naman. Mahina ba yung stress and pain tolerance nila? Because,
Mhm.
it's like a phenomenon, at least in South Korea. So I'd like to get your reaction there.
Marami kasing factors talaga eh. I think it's one of it also culture. Okay? Kasi mapapansin mo, mostly sa kanila medyo mataas talaga yung mga incident in terms of suicide. But,
Dumadami.
dito rin naman meron sa'tin, I believe, okay, I hear some news about it also. But, suicide kasi is a very complex issue, Chris.
Mm,
Often, it's result of, some might say, genetic. Some might
mm,
say it's a single cause. I think it's a crucial topic with sensitivity that we need to recognize kasi that each individuals are unique. Okay, so while it's challenging to somehow pinpoint specific causes for suicide, okay, I think I've read some research. Understanding the field that somehow identified several risk factors that may contribute to suicidal thoughts and behavior. It's really
yeah.
important. Okay. So I think there are a lot of risk factors there. Sorry, I'm talking
Sige lang, sige lang.
scientific factors na dito. First, siguro yung mental health conditions. That's really
Alright.
important. Okay.
Uh,
Some cases kasi meron na talaga mga mental health disorder talaga na nag-elevate na. Possible na some of them are really depressed already
mhm,
and they never really acknowledge that. Okay? Some might have bipolar disorder already. Okay?
mhm,
Minsan siguro, ang taas na rin ng anxiety nila. So, those are factors kasi associated with the risk of suicide. So, I think it's important in the environment.
mhm.
Okay? Because
Big factor.
since we're talking about Korea, and talagang not to really discredit their culture, but ang taas talaga ng risk nila, di ba? Parang every now and then we really hear
They're
uh, artists ba? Mga artists nila.
celebrities. They're saying na part of the reason is the pressure, the peer pressure, and pressure to succeed and all
Mhm,
that, no?
mhm, mhm.
Yun
Pressure
yung
like kasi Chris, ano eh, have significant impact into
mm,
our emotional well-being,
mm,
and sometimes it kind of distort the way we think,
mm,
and it really pressured us to somehow parang nawawala na tayo ng sense of identity pag may mga ganong external factor in our lives. So
mm,
I think patong-patong na dahilan na why people would really reach that point for them to be able to say that's it.
mm,
It's really I'm at the end of my rope, and to me there's no more hope
mm.
anymore.
So basically, it's really hard to judge. There are so many factors
Yes.
that can contribute to that decision. For you, I think may ano kang may research ka on the mental health status of returning overseas Filipino workers. Can you share that insight? Kasi syempre, I'm curious, syempre, the big factor yan ng economy ng Philippines, di ba?
Yes. Actually, meron tayong tinatawag na color theory, Chris.
Hmm.
Okay.
Sige.
Siguro, I'm very big with factor kasi big with that because for a while I've lived abroad. Diba?
Mhm.
Alam mo yan. So,
Mhm.
siguro let's just say na as Filipinos, I'd like to say, para like just to illustrate, let's pretend that we have a blue culture. Okay? So me being a Filipino, having a blue culture, okay, going to another country, for example, America. So it's a different kind of culture then, di ba? So let's pretend that ang color ng culture nila is red.
Mhm.
Okay? So me, as a Filipino, going to a red culture, having a blue culture, somehow I won't be able to relate to a red culture. Tama? Because I'm blue.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And now, after living there for a while, somehow I was able to what? Experience having a red culture.
Mhm.
But I can never be red because my makeup is really blue. Okay? But somehow, merong naging touch nun sa akin. Okay? I kind of adapted that. Okay? So, now, I am not blue anymore, neither I'm not
Mhm.
red, 'di ba? So, I am a combination of the two. Tama ba ako? So, when you combine red and blue, ano na bang color combination mo?
Color blind
Ayan.
ako.
Really?
Ano ba yung red, blue,
Parang purple
uh,
yata.
purple. Okay, sige.
Okay.
Tama, tama. Darker
So
shade.
now, culturally speaking, I'm not blue anymore. Hindi rin ako red. But I am purple already.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Merged.
imagine going back to the Philippines having yung what? Purple culture ka
Blue.
na, di ba?
Mhm.
Purple ka na, di ba? So, when you go back here, you can never be blue again. But you can never be red also. But now
Mhm.
you're purple already. So, it's really hard for you somehow to what? Relate to whatever it is that's going on here coming back. So, a lot of OFWs, when they return here, grabe, ang taas ng anxiety, ang taas ng
Talaga.
depression, because they want to relate to what they left. Their family, their friends, okay, after being gone for 10 years, yun pa rin yung somehow pagkakaintindi nila eh. Whatever it is that they left, yun pa rin yung babalikan nila eh. But when they returned, unfortunately, a lot of things happened to them already. Maraming pagbabago. Like I said, culturally speaking, to illustrate it better, they're not blue anymore. They're purple already. So because of that stressors and pressure, being able to, that desire to sama, ay, kailangan ko uling makikonnect. Kailangan ko ulit tawag dito, maintindihan ulit or makakonect sa family ko. They try their best, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, like I said, they're not the same person anymore.
Mhm.
So those factors affect their psychological makeup. So yung
Mhm.
iba sa kanila, parang nagkakaroon ng reverse culture shock,
Mhm.
meaning experiencing a shock again, even though you're kind of familiar with your culture already. Diba? Kasi when you go to another country, that's culture shock. So meron kang shock in terms of their culture because you don't really know it. Okay? But after being gone for a while, and then bumalik ka sa original country mo, nagkaroon ka ng reverse. Because even though you understand it before, because of those experiences that you had uh, living abroad for a while, bringing it with you, it's really shocking for you to say, oh my gosh, how come I don't get it anymore? Even though
Uh-huh.
somehow you have an idea what's really going on, because part of you is still blue. Am I making sense, Chris?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
You get my point. So when I did my research, I kind of experienced this also coming back here. Most of my friends, I cannot relate with them anymore. Even my family, it really took a while for me to immerse again in the culture. So ang dami kong na-experience na anxiety, sadness, feeling ko sometimes I'm out of place, di ako maka-reject sa mga, dati hindi ko pa nga alam yung mga hugot-hugot eh. Bakit may mga
Ah,
gano'n? So it really took
tayo
a
lang
while.
ba yon?
Parang feeling ko. But some countries already adopted it already, I think. Umabot na
Okay.
sa ibang bansa. So that was the research was all about, and the findings talaga is somehow mahirap talagang mag-immerse back into
Ah,
our own culture after living abroad for a while.
ah,
So that's why it's really important that for OFWs to
ah.
understand this before
Mhm.
coming back here, na maraming nagbago sa buhay nila. So yung
Mhm.
babalikan nila dito, marami ding nagbago sa buhay nila. So susceptible sometimes for depression because nga they don't really understand those
Yes, yes.
changes in their
Yeah.
lives.
I think yun nga yung mga OFWs kasi
Mm.
what makes them different is they have to go back eh, 'di ba?
Mm.
Unlike ibang immigrants, workers are actually staying in there. They don't want to go back to their own homeland. No? And ano yung best way to address that? Just going through the motion, ano yung approach if kung meron silang ganong klaseng experience?
I think before going back home, it's really important somehow to process their experiences for the past years na nandun sila. How do they do that? Kind of closing that chapter in their lives by really saying goodbye to the people na nakakonect na sila doon because yun yung naging family nila for a while eh. So that's
Mhm.
why as Filipinos, diba, we're really big with despedida, saying goodbye. So as Filipinos, I think that would be really beneficial on our psychological well-being.
Mm.
Para somehow, it will be a good start again when you come back here.
Mm.
You don't have any regrets on that part of their life. So
Mm.
also it's important when you come back here, be good to yourself. Huwag madaliin. Kasi yung iba nagmamadali kagad, di ba? They're so excited. Libre lahat, invite lahat, you know. Take time to really
Ah,
immerse. Ano naman yung bago dito sa Pilipinas? MRT ba? Ganun pa rin. Actually, right now, di ba?
bumilis daw ah.
Bumilis na ba? Right?
Kapag holiday, pag holiday.
Talaga.
Kasi walang tao.
Grabe ka talaga. And I think also, di ba, right now, parang, I hardly commute anymore. But parang narinig ko, P-text na lahat. Something like that.
Ano yun?
See, hindi ka rin nagko-commute.
Hindi ko alam yun.
Parang that's the main stop na yata. Lahat ng
Ah,
bus natin, doon na magsa-stop and then
that's
they will
good.
go to, unlike before, di ba, from Alabang, Chris, one
Yung mga
bus to
stop-stops.
Makati. Oo.
Ah,
Ngayon parang hindi na yata ganun.
that's good,
So,
that's good.
you know, those changes lang, if they can research in advance or during their first week here, try to ask people around what are the changes here para somehow hindi rin sila mabigla. I think that's
Yeah,
really important. And wag
that's
din
good to
masyadong
hear.
ma-excite. 'Di ba? Excited tayo pag bumabalik tayo, which understandable naman. We've been here for a while. But some of us talagang would really, you know, ask people and friends to come visit us right away.
Mhm.
Spend time muna with people that's really important in your life.
Take it slowly, right?
Yes.
Take it slowly.
Mm-mm.
All right. Eto. Stress to some extent is syempre it's unavoidable aspect
Mm-hmm.
of life and sometimes for some people it's a motivation. It's a performance enhancer. From your perspective, ano yung threshold between, healthy stress and unhealthy stress?
Here's the thing, Chris. Stress is natural part of our everyday life. Okay. In fact, there's two kinds of stress. Okay. Eustress and de-stress. Okay.
Can you
Eustress,
spell that for me?
EUSTRESS. That's eustress. It's
Di
not a
ko alam yan.
capital U, but it's EU
EU.
tapos stress. Okay. So,
Alright.
eustress is a positive form of stress that is typically short term and beneficial. Okay, so
Okay.
we
Give me an
often
example.
we describe it as good stress, because it
Mm-hmm.
can motivate and energize us. Okay, so example, okay, could be participating in a challenging but exciting sports
Mm-hmm.
competition.
Yep, yep.
Okay, because may stress ka dun but at the end of it, that's very productive, okay? Also, if you're involved in a new work project, okay? When you volunteer for a new project at work, you likely experiences uh, stress, positive
Mm-hmm.
stress, okay? But towards the end of it, you'll get something out of it, okay? So that's why it's positive stress. It kind of stretches you as a person. But when we're stretched kasi masakit 'di ba?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable, but towards the end of it, there's a benefit that we gain.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is a very good example. First date. Tama ba ako? You feel stressed, 'di ba, during
Mm-hmm.
your first date. But there's butterflies in your tummy and sometimes talagang grabe, taas ng anxiety level mo. But towards the end of it,
Warm up ka
somehow,
na.
exactly. And also, na-enjoy mo
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of that process. Okay. So, stress experience can lead to, I think, increased motivation, enhanced performance, and a sense of a accomplishment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kaya natin siya tinatawag na positive stress. Now, on the other hand, ito familiar ka dito.
Oh, no.
Baka ako lang, hindi ikaw. Okay.
Sige, go,
Distress.
go.
Okay, distress. Also known as
DI
negative
ito.
stress. Oo. So,
DIS to.
ito na yung tinatawag nating stress for most people. Okay?
Alright.
Ito yung typical notion natin ng stress. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it refers to the harmful, overwhelming stress that can have adverse effects on an individual's physical. Okay, ramdam natin yan minsan, di ba? Pag stress tayo, parang ang bigat ng pakiramdam natin. And
Mm-hmm.
mental well-being. So,
Mm-hmm.
this stress occurs when a person perceives an event, okay, or a situation as threatening, dangerous, or beyond their ability to cope effectively. Okay? So, napaka-importante po that we recognize that the same event or situation can be experienced as positive or negative
Mm-hmm.
experience. Okay? Depending on our perception, our resources, and ability to cope. Okay? Kasi
Okay.
for you, I bet, Chris, pag
Oh.
nasa-stress ka, you always see it positively. Because that's really your
Mm.
natural process. Tama
Nasanay
ko?
na, nasanay na.
Nasanay na.
Nasanay na.
But to some people, I bet, hindi rin ganon yung experience nila. So,
Mhm,
it really depends talaga on your psychological makeup. Okay?
mhm.
Kung hanggang saan yung threshold mo na na kaya mong i-handle yung stress na yan. And I think the key is to find a balance between challenges that motivates us
Mhm.
and stretch us positively. Kasi
Okay.
nga minsan talaga iba-iba. Hindi siya
Yep.
pare-pareho. Like ikaw nga, classic example ka. Iba ang stress sa'yo. Talagang you can really make it as a positive experience. Tama?
May recovery, yes. Basta meron akong approach that I take. No?
What do you mean by that?
Reflection.
May approach ka?
No,
Nakasanayan mo na yun?
well, I would consider my religious faith,
Hmm.
being a Christian, it's a big component to that. Pero I'm not saying hindi ako nasa stress.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
stressed. But correct me if I'm wrong, it's the way you interpret things, 'di ba?
Yes.
it's a big factor, di ba?
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not perfect, you know. So syempre may lenses ako kaya nga nakasalamin, di ba? That's just a metaphor. Pero may faulty lens ka and then you interpret that and then you feel stress. But I do feel stress. But when I do, I go back, rest,
Mhm.
and then recover,
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
something and get on. Basically that's what I do.
Yeah. So, this is really good, Chris, because dito papasok yung sinasabi natin, self-awareness is a very powerful tool. Knowing others is wisdom kasi. But
Mm-hmm.
knowing ourselves is enlightenment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, who we are now in the present, I'm not talking about spirituality here. I'm just
Yes,
talking
yes,
about
yes.
psychological aspect.
Oh.
Uh, who we are now in the present, it's because of our past. These are
uh,
sets, patterns of behavior that we have acquired growing up as a child, and characteristics that we have embraced because of our life experiences. For example, whenever you brush your teeth, Chris, where do you press
mhm.
the toothpaste? Top, bottom, or middle?
Uh, s-
Napaisip.
sa gitna actually, sa gitna.
Oh, see? Ako naman sa top. Okay. So basically my point here is that the way we behave, feel, think right now, it's because of our training from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So maybe because kasi you were explaining your process, 'di ba? Every time you feel stress, you can always go back to that. Siguro sabihin na lang natin mga coping mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
strategies on how for you to be able to manage that stress. Kasi growing up or probably because of your life experiences, ganun na yung mga way na nagawa mo to help yourself be better each time you feel stressed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's correct.
so
That's
yes.
correct. That's a good point. What I'm curious now, since we're
Mm.
talking about the science of stress, physiologically, what happens to our body.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a video. I watched the TV series kasi
Okay.
Disney. Si Chris Hemsworth. Yung stress challenges. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Not yet.
It's
I
a
would
good.
love to see that.
Tapos may psychologist siya doon.
Mm-hmm.
So yung mga extreme test, yung maglalakad siya sa isang building,
Mm-hmm.
tapos
Grabe naman yan.
how will you survive that? No, hindi ko pa
Talaga.
natapos. I'm just episode 2. Pero
Mm-hmm.
every episode, he will push himself. So preparation of the mind. So can you walk us through what happens in our body when we're
Okay.
stressed,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we overcome?
When
Sometimes based on that show,
sometimes
kasi parang based on that show, they try to hack the system. So they're
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
breathing, their focus, etc. Yeah.
Okay. When our bodies kasi perceive a stressful situation, okay, they activate the stress response. Okay? So, meaning, mapapansin natin, di ba, sometimes some of us naka-fight or flight response na kagad, or yung iba sa atin nag-freeze. Okay? So, these are stress, symptoms that can affect our body. Okay? I'm not sure if you're really. I think you're familiar with this. The gas, okay, the general anxiety syndrome, general
Yeah.
adaptation syndrome. Okay.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually have that here.
talaga.
Pakita natin.
Okay. Sige,
I was
pwede.
ready. I'm prepared.
Okay,
Sige,
okay.
sige. Go ahead, go ahead.
Sige. Kasi the general adaptation syndrome, we call it GAS, is a
Mm-hmm.
concept proposed by Hans Selye, a pioneering research in the field of stress. Okay. So basically, it kind of describes the body's response to a prolonged or intense stressors. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it describes the process of your body when you are exposed to any kind of stress, positive man or negative. Okay? So, normally, this consists of three stages. Okay? Mahilig ang psychology sa acronym eh. So, this is
Mm-hmm.
really easy to remember. ARE. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, number one, alarm stage. That's the number one stage that you feel somehow na your body
Mm-hmm.
somehow experience increase, ayan, heart rate, sweaty palms, and heightened alertness. Okay? So, let's give an example. For example, you're preparing for a major exam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? alam ko hindi ka nasa-stress nung bata tayo. By the way, si
Hindi,
Chris po,
hindi.
schoolmate ko, grabe, A1 student yan
Hindi
before.
naman.
So
Samba lang. Samba
I'm
lang.
not sure if you can relate to this. Okay, so let's pretend preparing for a major exam. Okay,
Okay.
so alarm stage. Kunwari, you're a student preparing for a significant exam that will determine your academic progress. Okay,
Okay.
so as the exam approaches, di ba? May experience tayo ng bata eh. We start feeling a sense of urgency and pressure. Di ba sa atin, nagka-cram, last minute, di ba? So, our body enters an alarm stage. Okay? So, dyan natin na-feel yung increased heart rate, sometimes
Mhm.
sweaty palms, and heightened alertness. So, meaning, this physiological responses, nagiging ano siya, preparation as you
Mhm.
face the challenges. Okay, that's how your body responds to that alarming stage. Eh. Okay, I'm getting ready for this. Okay, pansin mo, I'm not sure. Is there part of the video kay Chris Hemsworth ba? Na oo,
Oh, Chris
nakikita mo
Hemsworth.
at the beginning of
Heart
the
rate.
challenge, oo,
Yep, yep.
and talagang kita mo yung pressure physically,
Yep,
okay?
yep.
So, that's how his body responds to that alarm stage. You're kind of getting ready for it,
Mhm.
okay? And then the second stage is resistance stage, okay? So, here naman, you during this resistance stage, your body tries to adapt on the
Mm.
ongoing stressor. So meaning your stress hormones level may remain elevated, but you start to cope with the pressure more effectively. Okay? Siguro when he was doing the challenge, okay, at first kita mo he's preparing the intensity, right? But when he was doing it, somehow he get a hang of that challenge already.
Mhm.
Tama. I'm not
Tama,
sure.
tama.
Di ko pa
No,
na. I'm just
tama, tama,
guessing.
tama.
Oh. So, so
Tama
that's
assumptions mo.
tama, tama. Oh, so that's the resistance stage. Wherein he's really resisting that feeling for him to somehow hindi mag-move. Talagang he's really giving his best. Resisting that cortisol feeling, the anxiety. For him, kaya minsan yung mga adrenaline dito pumapasok eh. When we're
Yes, yes,
resisting it.
yes.
The adrenaline rush. Okay? So that's the resistance stage. But the last stage, eto na. The
Yan na.
exhaustion. We're so
Ayan na, pagod
exhausted
na.
already.
Hindi na
Okay.
kaya.
Yes, because despite your efforts to cope, you start experiencing what? The chronic stage na, the stress.
Mm,
Okay. So mentally and physically exhausted ka na.
mm,
And to
yeah.
the point, na-reach mo na yung threshold mo eh. To
Yeah.
the point that you're having difficulty concentrating and your motivation may decline already. So your
Yes.
body resources become somehow depleted when you gave your best already, di ba?
Mm,
And some people, okay, sabi nila, pag nangyayari to, diyan na pumapasok yung burnout
mm, mm,
and decline in overall well-being. Kasi
mm,
iba-iba naman talaga tayo ng threshold as a person. Some people,
yes.
sobrang taas ng threshold nila. Grabe, yung mga workaholic, no?
Mm.
Talagang, sometimes, 2 nights, di natutulog.
Hindi
Yes.
ko kaya. Hindi ko
Hindi mo
kaya.
kaya.
Hindi ko kaya.
Tumatanda na
Ikaw malakas
tayo.
ka eh.
Hindi
Feeling
ko
ko ikaw
kaya.
malakas threshold.
So, ayun, the bodies kasi po when it experience prolonged stress,
Mm.
sometimes talaga hindi siya maganda. Kaya tinatawag natin siyang generalized adaptation syndrome kasi akala natin nag-a-adapt tayo.
Oo.
But in reality, talagang it reach a point that we're depleting all our energy to the point na wala na tayong maibigay. Kaya it's
Mm,
really important for us to recognize our own limitation as a person.
mm.
Kasi if we recognize that, alam natin kung hanggang saan lang tayo.
Yes, yes. I just want to share a story. In fact,
Mm.
that it happened to me, pero I had this meeting, matagal na to, no, with my boss, and it's like I tried pushing myself to the very limits in terms of my brain trying to solve this problem, pero
Mhm.
uh, talagang hindi kaya, like 2 hours, 3 hours straight, and then suddenly I felt my brain parang
Talaga.
uminit, exhausted. It's like my first time. Sabi ko, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
do that again. So I've reached that mental exhaustion. And ito question ko,
Mm.
for people who are ito in connection, there's this big five personality,
Mhm.
trait. I've been studying Jordan Peterson recently. I like his work on the Big Five, and he's very good thought leader. And he said, I'm not sure if it's connected to stress, but
Mm.
people who are, who are saying the openness, diba? People who
Yes,
are
openness.
the
Open to
big,
experience. Mhm.
uh, yeah. And people who are disagreeable are actually mm, can actually succeed more in
Mhm.
their careers than people who are agreeable. So in
Yes.
relation to that and in connection with stress, kasi for me, ito lang interpretation ko,
Mm.
people who are stressed, just like me, kunwari yung hindi umaalis yung stress is because they are saying yes, they're not saying no. They're not pushing back. They're allowing stress. Let's say you have a boss that keeps pushing you. So that's a stress that won't go kasi your boss is pushing you
And you see
So,
them every day.
diba? You can't do anything. Tapos you keep saying yes. You're not
Yes.
challenging back. So is there like a connection there?
Kasi
For
when
me?
we talk about the five personality traits, grabe, big fan ka pala ni Jordan. No?
Yes.
Actually, for those people who's listening and are not really familiar with it, we call it OCEAN. You remember the acronym of it? Openness to experience, conscientiousness, uh, extroversion, tama ba ako?
Yeah.
Agreeable, and
Agreeableness.
and
Neuroticism.
neuroticism. Okay, alam
Neurotic.
na alam.
Ah.
Okay. Okay, first, it's worth noting that personality traits kasi
Mm.
interacts with various other factors, okay, such as coping mechanisms, social support, and individual circumstances in shaping one's experiences in terms of stress, okay? So, yung Big Five kasi, ginawa talaga siya as a somehow tool for us to understand personality. Okay?
Mm.
Kagaya nga nung sinasabi mo kanina, di ba? When you're open, pag mataas yung openness to experience mo, okay, or even conscientiousness, it reflects to the degree which individual is more organized, tama?
Mhm.
Responsible, and self-disciplined. So these are
Mhm.
good traits that to have, okay? And also, you become, when you're agreeable naman, there's a tendency to be cooperative, somehow compassionate, empathic towards others, okay? So, gaining insight into one's personality traits can offer kasi valuable information about individual tendencies, and it can help create somehow personally strategies for you to be able to somehow manage stress, okay?
Mm.
So in saying that, it's important for us to somehow understand kung ano tayo as a person.
Mhm.
Okay? Because a lot of us, even may nangyayari sa akin to, Chris, sa mga pasyente kong pumapasok sa clinic, okay? 50 years old, they reach that point wherein they're not yet sure pa rin who they are as a person.
Mhm.
Okay? And that's why, sinasabi ni Jordan Peterson, di ba, na increased awareness can give us greater recognition of importance of our mental health and managing stress. Kasi
Mm.
the more na makilala mo yung sarili mo, okay, the more na mas magsasucceed ka in life. Kasi nga, nalalasen mo yung stress every day. Like yung binigay mo kaninang example, trigger na everyday si boss. Okay? So, alam mo nang trigger mo si boss. Okay? Expected mo na yan. Every day you will see your boss. Okay? So, alam mo na everyday masa-stress ka. Hindi ka pa pumapasok. So, how do you manage that? If
Resign.
mataas yung, not really, you need money.
Find the
Okay?
job. Resign. Just
Okay?
kidding. Just kidding. Go
So,
ahead. Go ahead.
so sa 5 traits natin, if mataas yung openness to experience mo, then you can bank on that. Okay?
Mm.
Meaning, since you understand that you're always open naman to experience, then there's resiliency for you to what? Be able to
Uh,
learn new coping skills for you to handle that stress.
mm,
Maybe somehow trying to connect with your boss, okay? Or
right.
maybe lessen your time with your boss. Lalapit ka lang kapag kailangan ng meeting. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, pumupunta dun yung qualities natin as a person kasi. Parang nawala
Mm.
na yata ako sa topic.
But that's no, that's correct. That's correct.
Mm, mm,
And here's a follow-up question, no.
mm,
Yung this is just was watching Jordan Peterson talk about neuroticism. Eh.
mhm,
There are people, from my understanding, if you are high on neuroticism, you're
mhm.
mas stressful ka.
Yes.
Tama ba? Can
Emotional
you
ka rin. Very
uh,
emotional ka as a
so it's
person.
like you were born like that na 'di ba different personalities nga pag
Yes. Oo.
like I
Um,
have 3 kids, no? So
mhm,
meron na talaga siyang personality, ano.
oo.
So paano yung mga high end na?
Neuroticism kasi reflects on an individual's tendency to experience negative emotions right away na absorb kagad nila such as anxiety and mood swings and irritability. So
Mhm.
for these people na medyo high sa neuroticism, it's really important for them to learn new coping mechanism in order for them to manage their stress. Kasi pag wala ka ring opportunity to combat those emotions that you feel.
Mhm.
Kasi nga, very susceptible ka sa stress right away. And again, there's so many factors why mataas yung neuroticism ng isang tao. Why they're
Mhm.
always emotional. So, that could be genetics, probably.
Mhm.
That's a very controversial research. Environmental factors also are one consideration because probably growing up, sa bahay niyo napakadaming stress. So, it was easy for you to somehow absorb that. Kasi nga, buong buhay mo, wala kang nagawang bagong or walang opportunity for you to learn new coping mechanism because of the environment that you grew up
Mhm.
with. Okay? Also, lastly, I think your life experiences. Okay? Kung ang dami mong traumatic experiences growing up as a child, it kind of clouded your emotion now every time you experience good things in life. Okay? So sometimes makikita natin yan in the professional setting. There are some people who really project their neuroticism. Like for example, they cannot handle positive criticism. Bigla siyang nagiging negative. Okay? Also sa mga listener natin sa mga businesses here, 'di ba? Sometimes when you have a big sale, 'di ba? Parang kakabahan ka kagad. Because all throughout your life, your process, pag may magandang nangyayari, you're shaken right away because you think it's kind of fleeting. So
Mhm.
it's very subjective then in terms of that.
Mhm. Going back to mental health.
Hmm.
Ah, ako during 80s and 90s and early 20s, di naman uso yung word na
Mental
mental
health.
health.
Hmm.
Wala kang benefit nun before some companies, just HMO,
Mm-hmm.
just take care of your health.
Yes.
And now
Tiyak
sa
mo
mga
lang yan.
companies,
Hmm.
ngayon sa companies is like part of the benefits nila is mental health,
Yes.
wellness, etc. Uh, do you have any thoughts on bakit biglang umusbong to? Is it because the science was too late? Na-develop lang to mental health and wellness during the early or late 90s.
I think it's because everything is evolving right now, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a society very fast pace na
Uh,
tayo, 'di ba? Lalo after the post-pandemic, maraming nabago. Everything is available online. You can access everything or online, talagang there's so many factor. And I think I can relate because of the pandemic. I want to relate it there. The pandemic has had a significant impact on our mental health
can you
with
tell us? Mhm.
With increased levels of anxiety, grabe ang dami nagre-report yan after the pandemic, okay? The anxiety, depression, and stress, worldwide, talagang nag-increase siya. Okay? So, I think the isolation kasi
Ah.
and lack of social interaction can further exacerbate mental health issues. Okay. Also, I think the need for continuous adaptation and innovation. Okay. Like in our businesses right now, finding creative solution to new problems, exploring digital transformation. I've seen your the episode of
Yeah.
AI. That was really
Yeah, we
nice,
do a
you
lot.
know. Staying ahead of changing
Uh,
consumer preferences. Yan. Nagbago talaga eh, given we are living in this fast paced environment. Okay?
mm-mm,
Um, n- Nag-boom talaga siya. Because
mm-mm,
everything right now is available online.
mm-mm.
Also, okay, ito rin yung challenges na kinakaharapan namin mga mental health professional. A lot of people also are self-diagnosing right now.
What's that?
They will go on the internet if they feel
Uh,
sad or ano, talagang they would
is that
really,
bad?
it's sometimes bad because leave it to the professional po. Because
Uh,
we as human being, we have the tendency kasi to internalize things that we read on internet. I'm not saying baka depression or what I'm just saying is let's rely on the trained professional who
mm-mm.
possesses the necessary expertise in this domain. Kasi
Mm.
engaging, ito po, wala pong magagalit.
Sige, go ahead.
Engaging in self-diagnosis carries inherent risk. Bakit po? Kasi it can lead to internalizing and sometimes unquestioningly accepting the information gleaned from personal readings and research. So because we read it every day, sometimes diba, our mind is really powerful.
Mm,
Nagiging totoo na sa atin yan.
mm,
So it's important to be assessed properly. Okay? Because assessments in our practice provide valuable insights, allowing us to tailor our approach to meet whatever it is, psychologically speaking, that
mhm.
you need. So, please lang po, huwag pa tayong mag-self-diagnose. Because, Chris, ang dami kong mga pasyente, ages
Oh,
18 to 25,
bata pa. Ah.
they would go to online consultation and they would pagpasok pa lang, they would say, feeling ko po depressed ako. Feeling ko po
So they're
ganyan.
labeling
Yes.
themselves already. Okay.
And it's not
So
good because uh,
you
pumunta ka
create
na
that
doon.
belief and
Yes, and we have that thinking already that you're already depressed or maybe you're just going through something. Maybe you're just in a season wherein you're learning. Okay? So, that's why leave it to the expert po. But although hindi naman natin sineset aside those people talaga who's really experiencing mental health struggles. Okay?
mm,
Like I said, there's a danger kasi when we have everything in an
mm.
instant because such information available right away.
I heard I heard someone say, no,
Mm.
I can't forget who said it. But um because again, wealth, yung the total wealth creation
Mm-hmm.
because of the information age skyrocketed fast eh.
Mm-hmm.
So in relation to what you're saying na sumobrang although people are saying poverty is still an issue,
Mm-hmm.
pero compared to 100 years ago where poverty is like 80% of the population, ngayon it's like 10% na lang yata, 20% eh. So yung
Talaga?
something like that.
Mhm.
Don't quote me at that, but I can share it in
Mhm.
the comment section. But poverty really decreased. We can ask Bard AI or ChatGPT; they'll provide that answer. So the
Mhm.
acceleration of wealth creation increased in the last 2 decades. But ito yung sabi ng isang basta isang lalaki sa ano but it created more stress. Because
Definitely.
before, during 1960s, may different types of anxieties eh, no? Ngayon, if you read the American Psychology daw na diagnosis, there's like different types of anxieties.
Sobrang dami.
So dumami because instead of yun yung ano eh, I'd like to get your thoughts. This is actually my other question.
Mm.
Instead, because of wealth, no, because of this, di ba dapat ang conclusion natin mas relax tayo?
Mhm.
Pero it's the opposite eh, because of wealth and because of, what's happening because of all these opportunities, it became more stressful for us.
I think
Do you
it's
agree on that?
because of increased awareness, because it has led to a greater recognition of importance of mental health. Okay,
Mm.
in saying that, since we have that recognition already, okay, so there's a lot of open doors and opportunities to have open
Uh,
discussions, diba? And tama ka, Chris. There's really a richness of information out there, eh. And sometimes we're not sure kung tama ba yung mga information available. Okay? Some can be misleading, some can be really true, may backup na research. But that's the thing about knowing everything. We're both Christians here. And I would agree, even, when we talk about the Bible and the theory, it's not really good for us to have that kind of knowledge, because somehow it could lead us astray. Okay? Because we have this knowledge already. Na what do we do with it? Okay?
overwhelming na, no? Overwhelming.
Yes, overwhelming knowledge that sometimes it's dangerous already.
Mm.
To the
That
point that
makes sense.
somehow tayo nahihirapan tayong i-balance the
Uh,
information that we're receiving. So,
mm-mm.
I think nakaka-stress yun. Knowing that
Sabagay.
everything may
Alam mo
dahilan.
no?
Oo.
Oo. Lahat access mo na eh. All types of information eh.
Yes,
Well, that
and
makes
everything
sense.
may purpose, everything may root cause, everything. Unlike before, everything is so simple, right?
Mm. Yeah, you just trust kung ano yung sinasabi. Yeah, that's correct. So is
And
that,
ano ko,
sige, go
Chris.
ahead. Sorry.
And also, ang I think nawala doon yung peace.
Mm.
Because we continuously innovate. We
Mm-mm.
continuously find new, ano ba, theory.
Yeah, pabilis yung ano
Yes.
eh, yung world eh, no?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this leads me to my question.
Mm.
Tama. Although it's not planned, but your responses seems to connect to this, no?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna jump into it. Is that why yung tell me more about yung there's this study about millennials and Gen Zs
Mm-hmm.
kasi, no? Syempre sila yung they live na nandito na yung internet. Ako naalala ko dahil up pa eh, di ba? I'm not
Millennials
sure
tayo,
if this,
right? We're millennials.
Gen X ako eh. Ang
Ah,
alam ko
okay.
Gen X ako.
Okay. I think you're 3 years older than me. Ako millennials. Pasok.
Ikaw millennial.
Go ahead.
Pero anyway, I think paumpisa pa lang yung bilis ng internet here. Pero
Mhm.
here's a study. I'd like to get your thoughts here. Let me share my screen. Okay, here. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Sige.
Etong mga ito, kita mo yan?
Ang liit naman.
Basahin ko
Okay,
na lang.
struggling. Sige.
Sige. Basahin ko na lang.
Read it.
Ito, according to this, ayan, work for Gen Zs,
Mhm.
46% and 45% of millennials feel burned out due to
Okay.
intensity demands of their working environment. So almost
Okay.
half, no?
Mhm.
And they love to leave, eh, 'di ba? Kaya nga merong the great resignation na sinasabi. And large part of that is because of the Gen Zs and millennials. Eh.
Okay.
And employers do seem to be making progress. Okay, kaya nga, when it comes to prioritizing mental health and well-being in the workplace, but more than half agreed that workplace well-being and mental health has become a focus for the employer since the part of the pandemic, start of the pandemic. And it shows here that the Gen Zs and millennials are like so concerned are concerned, no, I don't want to say so concerned, but according to this, they're concerned about what's happening in the
Okay,
world.
baka may magalit sa atin dito
Oh,
mga
baka may
nanonood.
magalit. Sabihin ginajudge sila eh.
Yes.
Pero, and also another thing here is yung work-life balance seems to
Mhm,
be an important part of their
mhm.
concerns. This is from a Deloitte research which was published last year. So, just to summarize, I'd like to get your thoughts here. Number one, yun nga, they're, they leave. Yeah, siguro when they stress. Ito lang yan, ito yung
Mhm.
perception. No? There are a lot of articles about this. They leave when they want to. I'm not sure if it's related to stress. And number two, yun nga, they seem to be concerned about a lot of things. Kasi
Mhm.
nung panahon na yung mga Gen X, I'm not sure kung sa age mo, parang relax lang or not concerned about global warming. Pero ngayon, 'di ba? Ibang klase yung ano.
Yes.
So, is there again, is that connected to what we were talking about?
I think so because meron kasi tayong tinatawag na generational resiliency.
Sige nga.
Okay. So this refers to the capacity of a particular generation. Wala pong magagalit. To adapt, cope, and overcome challenges, adversities, or even
Okay.
traumatic events.
I'm
Okay. So
curious.
so in your case,
Sinong pinaka-resilient?
in your case, Gen Z ka, di ba? Gen Z ka ba
Gen
talaga?
X ako
Ay, sorry.
1980s eh.
Gen
Hindi ko alam
X.
baka millennials pa ako.
Millennials ka.
1980, di ba?
1980
Millennial.
ka ako, Chris.
Bata pa pala ako, bata pa pala
Bata
ako.
ka pa. Okay. So,
Alright,
we
nice.
have a different, kasi, generational resiliencies compared sa generation na sumunod sa atin. Because we were
Mm.
able to experience, I think, two, playing outside and the boom of the computer AI industry, right?
Mm-mm.
So every time in the present now, when we talk about adversity, challenges, because of those experiences, we are able to see it on a different lens. Okay, wala pong
Mm.
magagalit dito. What do I mean by that? Okay, kasi iba po yung hugot namin in our generation. Okay? Kasi tayo yung napalo. Tama ba?
Ah,
Di ba? Tayo, ngayon, pag pinalo mo ang bata, somehow, they're able to what? Where,
kakasuhan ka.
hindi, pwede.
Sa Amerika
Also,
ganun.
ang galing na rin nilang sumagot eh. Pero tayo na, hindi
Alam mo
tayo
na.
sumasagot, di ba? So, different experiences kasi in different generation. Okay? And pansinin mo din, yung experience ng mga lolo't lola natin, they're more on the historical context. So, ang hugot nila, di ba? Mag-ipon na mag-ipon
Mhm.
because they felt deprived somehow. Okay?
Mhm.
So, when we talk about generational resilience, okay, we're talking about variety of factors. This include, kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, historical events, cultural values, social support system. When we talk about that, nagtatago-taguan pa tayo dati, and pa yung mga laro na tumbang
Patintero.
preso, patintero. I'm not sure kung mga bata
Wala
ngayon
na yata
ginagawa pa yan. Okay, and this experience, Chris, kasi, and skills have been passed down from that generation na una sa atin to us.
Mm.
Okay, so because of that, we see differently on a different
Mm.
lens. Okay,
Okay.
so resiliency wise, because of those experiences, napalo ka, naglalaro ka, we're not really into gadget kasi TV lang
Mm.
tayo nun eh. So ngayon,
Mm.
kaya natin na umupo lang dyan, walang gawin, or makipag-usap. Because that's our makeup, that's our process growing up. Okay?
Mhm.
But the generation after us, wala pa magagalit. Mamaya, awayin tayo. We're just talking about life experiences here po. The generation after us, what do you call them? Gen Z na ba?
Gen Z na. Gen Z.
Okay, okay. hindi natin sila masisi because the world evolved. Somehow it becomes really dangerous. Also, wala nang mga farm or talahib na pwede silang magtakbuhan ngayon. Okay, so most of their development, saan nangyayari? In front of the computer, what else? Um, ano magiging sila?
Coffee shop na
Coffee
lang,
shop,
mall eh.
oo, oo. So, whenever they experience stress now, okay, it's so easy for them to what? Go and look for
Mhm.
another job and sometimes quit
Kasi
because, sige, you're
no,
saying?
no. Is it because they are more, or they just wanna? It's easy to leave.
It's easy for
That's
them
their
to leave.
coping mechanism.
Yes, oo. Kasi nga, to them, why do I need to stay in this kind of environment? Okay? Because, like I said, growing up, that's the makeup. That's the
Mm-hmm.
generational resiliency that they experience. But us, millennials, and even the generation before us, sanay tayong magtiyaga. But there are
Mm.
pros and cons naman to that. In our generation, millennials, talagang tsatsagain natin kasi we what? Alam natin kung ano yung resiliency pagdating dyan. That's our mind concept, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Na hanggat kaya, pwede.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, to cut what I'm trying to say, to make it short, okay, we just see stress differently according to what generation we grew up. We see it on a different lens. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, hindi natin masisisi ang isa't isa. What I like about Gen Z naman, grabe, they're very proactive. Talagang if they really like the job, talagang they would really give their
Speak
best.
up, diba? Speak up.
Mm.
They
Mhm.
speak up. They
Proactive
express
talaga.
themselves. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and very
Mm.
innovative, creative, okay.
Mm. Where do you see? Di ko alam kung ano next generation, but where do you see the next generation in terms of their resilience, psychological resilience?
Actually, to be
Ano
honest,
ba yung trends?
right now,
Na-anticipate ba natin yon?
yeah,
Kaya bang i-forecast yon?
pwedeng i-forecast, but I'm not really sure here in the Philippines though. Because most research kasi,
Parang walang
typically
research
sa
sa
West
Philippines.
eh. Oo, sa
Oh,
West.
wala.
So, that's our basis. Okay? So, yung mga bata doon talaga, dependent na talaga sila sa AI. Okay? And
Mm-hmm.
even now, there's a lot of discussion online. It's there already. So, how can we make the most out of it? Ganun na yung mga
Mm-hmm.
usapan ngayon eh. But here in the Philippines, it's just really starting. And I think with the poverty pa rin na medyo mataas here, I think that's a factor pa rin for us not to reach that point. Would you agree
Mm-hmm.
with me? Maybe to some
I
privilege, they will.
mm-mm. I have I want to touch on what you said about
Mhm.
AI. Paano siya, how will it affect yung mental health and stress levels? Is it because of, the fact that, you know, they will have more access again to information, they will be overwhelmed, or ano yung view ng US ngayon on
Right
AI as far
now,
as stress is concerned?
I think right now kasi the major concern in the West are they're talking about life experiences. Yun ang nawawala.
Mm.
Real life
Ah.
experiences. Okay? When we have real life experiences kasi, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we find meaning in our lives. Okay? So, mapapansin mo, even in my practice, ang daming mga batang depressed because wala na silang life. Again, wag
Mm.
po magagalit. I'm just talking about based on my experiences po. Some of them, they don't have life anymore. Their life is just revolving, evolving
Sa
games.
digital, no? Sa digital
Yes,
world.
all
Okay.
the time. Okay? Even when they're doing their assignments, sobrang dependent na sila sa internet. And that's really scary, even in our own psychological makeup, because nawawala na yung reality in life. Okay? So psychologically speaking, pag nawawala na po yung reality, touch of reality, that's kind of scary. Because somehow you're not able to live what? Meaningly.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose, yan. So, kasi when we find satisfaction in our lives, typically, I know even psychiatrists would agree, there's a release of dopamine. That's happy
Mm, dopamine.
hormones. Okay? So, pag marami tayong gano'n na masasayang moments, we're really having a lot of accomplishment in life, we have happy hormones. So
Mhm.
whenever there's enough happy hormones here, somehow we're not sad. We're not depressed. Life is meaningful. We're able to experience life to the fullest somehow. So kung kaharap po natin lagi ang na gadget, computer, internet, kulang sa dopamine na po. So normally that's serotonin, the emotional hormones. Okay,
Mhm.
so mas marami. So kaya yung iba, grabe, sobrang lungkot after magpuyat, kakanood ng mga series, even though masaya naman yung pinanood nila. Kasi that's the release of the hormone na po during
Uh,
after that time. So as a psychologist, I'm kind of scared. But I'm
mm.
praying somehow we'll be able to navigate this positively kasi wala rin naman tayong magagawa.
Oh, nandiyan na
Nababago
eh.
naman lahat eh.
Uh,
Mm-mm.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the risk, diba?
Mhm.
Of progress, and we don't know what happens, but let's see. And that's
Mhm.
why nandito yung Kumita Journey. We're not just gonna talk about technology. We want to see different aspects that affects these new innovations. Lastly, no,
Mm.
skills. Let's talk about skills.
Okay.
Let's talk about coping mechanisms, ano mga strategies. Is there like a stress management skill that people should know about? And is it different from coping mechanism,
Actually,
creating your own coping
yeah,
mechanism?
sobrang dami sa internet right now. How would you really able to manage stress? And I would encourage people to check on it kasi iba-iba naman tayo eh. Okay, but be careful lang when you find stuff on the internet. Make sure na those people are really reliable and professional.
Who
Okay.
would you recommend?
Um, Jordan Peterson.
Mm.
I like him also. That's why I really like this. Okay. Actually, I want to touch on his five principles.
Sige,
Okay.
go ahead.
Kasi very helpful. Okay. Yung stress management ni Jordan Peterson. How he views stress management. Okay. Di ba number one, you're saying you need to take responsibility in terms of your
Mm.
own life.
Yep.
Okay? Because the importance po of taking responsibility for one's life and action, okay, it's really important. Because this includes acknowledging the role we play po in creating and managing stress in our lives. Okay? So by taking ownership of our situation, you can identify areas where you have, agency and control when you take steps to make positive changes. Meaning, pag in control po tayo ng buhay natin, meaning we can always change the narrative of our stories. Okay? There are times we feel like we're victims. Okay? And sometimes talaga hindi natin maiwasan. It's really because of unforeseen circumstances in our lives. Okay? But the fact that if we have ownership of our lives po, then there's hope that you can change the narrative of your stories. Okay. Also, he's saying then that set meaningful goals. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because he said when you have meaningful and specific goals, it can provide direction and
Mm-hmm.
motivation in your life. Okay. So I think that's really important to have direction po sa buhay natin. Doon po sa mga nakikinig sa ating mga kumikita explorer, a lot of times, minsan, mahirap nawawala yung meaning and goals kasi we're so busy with what? Income. What else could we think of pagdating sa mga business natin? We take care of our employees. Okay, we find meaning there. So once in a while, I think it's important to set your own personal meaning in terms of your goals. Okay, whether it's family ba, ang magiging
Yep.
meaning ng life mo, spiritual faith, that's really important to define that. Okay, I think also embrace challenges. Okay, yan, sabi rin ni Peterson yan, you need to be able to somehow face challenges head on. Okay, you need to develop resiliency. to be able to have personal growth and a stronger ability to manage stress in the long run. Okay, this is my favorite quote, Chris.
Sige.
Sabi niya, healthy things grow, growing things change. Okay?
Ah.
Change brings pain, but in the end, pain will bring you gain. Okay? So,
Mm.
paano mo masasabing you're a healthy person? You're growing. So, how will you say that you're growing? There's change.
Yes.
But unfortunately, change, it's painful. Eh. But
Mm-mm.
after that process, there's
Kasama
growth.
talaga. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So,
Pain.
once in a while, importante talaga, we really embrace challenges. Alam ko, it's easy to say. It's really easy to say that, to embrace challenges. But we need to fight every day and have that perspective na, okay, nabuhay pa ako, nagising pa ako today because I still have a purpose. Some depressed people, they don't have that. So they need to what? Somehow be encouraged to somehow, hey, there's still hope. Kasi kulang na
Mm.
nga the happy hormone. Okay, mabilis na lang, Chris. I think he said then, establish structure and routine. Okay?
Ah,
Okay.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Um, alam ko may mga kumikita explorer dito na mga workaholic. Ito, hindi mahirap for
Ah,
them. Lalo sa'yo, alam
routines.
ko.
Yes, discipline
Okay.
yan.
Oo. So, may structure and routine siya. Pero dun sa wala po, it's really important to have that. Kasi pag wala po tayong structure and routine every day, sometimes we have a lot of time to what? Overthink.
Mhm.
Pag nag-overthink po tayo, what's that verse, Chris? That the mind is the playground of the
Di
enemy,
ko
something. Okay.
nakalimutan.
So, if your mind is blank, okay, there's a lot of
Mm.
opportunities na mapasukan yan.
That's true.
And
That's true.
kung ano-ano. Okay. So, structure and routine and consistency, it's really important in terms of our mental health po. Mapapansin po natin din sa mga taong depressed, sa mga
Mm.
taong may mga bipolar, they really have
Talaga.
difficulty finding structure and routine in their lives. That's why whenever they go therapy
Interesting.
with me, that's the number one that we tackle. How's your structure? How's your routine every day? Kasi it
Mhm.
will really help you uh, um, improve your mental health if you have a regular structure every day. And lastly, I think this is really powerful, what you said, and I know you're familiar with it.
Sige.
Self-reflection and self-improvement. Tama?
Talaga. Tama, tama.
Okay. Okay. Because I remember Peterson said, engaging in self-reflection and continuous self-improvements as a means of better understanding oneself can really give you that satisfaction na, okay, I'm growing. I'm improving. There's something really going on in my life. Than to a person na wala, stagnant ang buhay. Okay? So
Mhm.
once in a while, it's really important for us to examine our life. Because an examined life, yung hindi po na-examine na buhay, it's not worth living. So, self-reflection and self-improvement po, makakatulong po sa atin yan. Just feeling that peace, that calm, once in a while. Tanggalin mo muna yung cellphone mo. Okay, stop watching Netflix for a while. When you practice that, you invite peace. So pag may
Parang,
stress, parang
hmm, parang dinidescribe mo ako eh. Sa
wala
topic
ba?
na yun. No,
Wala.
just kidding. Seriously, seriously. But
Yeah.
thank you for that. What I can note is tomorrow we're gonna interview someone.
Mm-hmm.
He's a successful entrepreneur, billionaire, and he's like that also. He has a routine, and he has
Mm-hmm.
a that self reflection which is important. And for sa mga kumikita, mas actually maganda yung sinabi mong kumikita explorers. It's like an
Mm-hmm.
ongoing thing rather than tapos na. No? I think that's an important thing that they need to develop in themselves. No, not just for because sometimes they work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't stop and reflect and think back, and that's part of the strategy. You have to really go through when you're stressed. Sometimes you have to pause and rethink your approach. No, uh, just another follow-up question for our viewers here.
Mm-hmm.
wants to know more about you, how do they reach you? But before you answer that question, what's your routine?
What's
And
my
how often,
routine?
what's your routine and how often do you do those reflection things?
Actually, some of my friends know this. Before, I'm not a morning person. Okay,
Uh,
but I think when I got older, I realized hindi pala maganda.
uh,
Because dati magpupuyat ako, some millennials there in Gen Z. I work in the evening kasi feeling ko mas productive, okay? But when I changed my routine and I started waking up early in the morning, and I meditate in the morning. That's really important. To just you know get in tune, setting the tone of my morning. It's really important because it reflects all throughout the day. So
mm-mm,
I meditate by reading the Word of God. Sometimes, if I have more time before going to work, I walk 10 to 15 minutes a day because okay naman yung labas ng house namin in the village. I really do that. And then when I go to work, I feel refreshed because I deal with problems every day. I listen to people's problems every day. So it's important that ready ako every day. Okay, so structure in my day, typically, best advice I can give is setting the tone every morning. That's really
mm.
important. Because kung sira na ang morning mo, it will
Dala-dala mo na.
reflect.
Oo.
Oo, the whole day. Also, before I forget, before I say kung saan nila ako pwede makita, I think prioritizing self-care, it's really important sa mga kumikita explorer natin. Maraming entrepreneurs ang
Mm,
nakakalimot po nito. Because there's
mm,
always an end goal, tama ba, Chris? In their head.
mm,
Normally, the
mm.
business is the priority. It's important to take care of ourselves once in a while po. You need to be an ally for yourself. Dapat po kakampi natin ang sarili natin. We need to also know our limitation. When our bodies kasi perceive stress, malaramdaman natin yan, ang bigat eh. So, it's important to stop once in a while. Okay, check, okay pa ba yung spares ko? Am I still doing okay? And then practice prioritizing self-care by how? Once in a while, magpamassage po kayo. Once in a while, eat dinner with your family, go out. Like I said, happy hormones. That's really important. If we have that somehow, that's really beneficial po in terms of our psychological well-being because it helps us see things on a different lens if we're happy, if we're contented, rather than if we have negative perception po, minsan hindi na tayo nakakapag-isip ng maayos. So, prioritize your self-care, mga kumikitang explorers there. If there's one thing that I want you to remember all throughout our discussion ni Chris, that's one thing po, prioritizing self-care. So, and they can check me out at empath.ph po for psychological consultation or anything. You can find me there po. So, yun lang.
With that, thank you so much, Norvie, for gracing us here for this show. And God bless you on your career and also your mission and your work. No, so with that, thank you so much for all our guests, and
Salamat po.
have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.
See you
God bless,
soon.
guys.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.